Hey guys, welcome back to Sad Dad. My name's Dave Apkarian. I am a comedian out of Fresno, California, and this is a podcast where I sit down with my fellow funny friends, my fellow comedians, and we talk about dads. Hi, how are you guys? Man, I've had a really fun week this week. I had a lot of really good hangs with some really cool comedians. It started to rain, which is really cool here in Fresno. September wasn't too bad, but it was a little on the hot side, but now it's nice and overcast, and it's October, and it's starting to feel spooky and rainy. It's great. I'm in a great mood. Had some friends talk me into doing Sober October, which I was like, can we just not drink for October? Can we not call it Sober October? Because it already has this weird bro-y connotation, but yeah, so I haven't been drinking the last few nights. I've been sleeping better, that's been nice. And it's a little bit of a challenge at the shows that I run, because all the venues that I do these shows at let me drink for free. So I've been drinking a lot of water and a lot of coffee, but it's been going well so far. It helped. This week I had the headliner that I had booked for our shows, Brandie Posey. She doesn't drink, so that was nice. At least I had like a sober partner, like somebody to hang out with. Because being the sober person in the room can be real tough, especially when everybody's drunk. So it was great. And actually, it's funny that she was down this week, because in this episode, I got a great episode today with Joe Kaye, and we actually talk about Brandie in this episode, because Brandie was an inspiration for Joe to get into comedy. So that was kind of a happy little coincidence. So yeah, had a lot of fun hanging out with Brandie this week. The next 2 weeks, the big Fresno Fair is going on, and Brandie and I on Monday, it hadn't started on Monday, and Brandie and I snuck into the fair as they were still setting everything up. That was fun to kind of like wander around and see all the rides all like folded up on their trailers and stuff. And we almost got hit by a couple of forklifts, and we recorded a bonus episode of Lady to Lady. And that was really cool for me, because I'm a big fan of that podcast. So getting to be a guest on some bonus content was pretty cool. So yeah, Brandie's great. Check out her podcast, Lady to Lady. My guest today has an amazing podcast too, Mr. Joe Kaye. Joe Kaye has a RuPaul. Well, we talk about it in this episode. RuPaul's Dragrace podcast called OK Work, and Joe's great. I love this man to death. He and I talk about it again on this episode, but he doesn't get out on the road very often, and I know he had said that he was a little bit nervous, and I know that feeling. Like, I've been there, where you're funny in your comfort zone, in your like sphere, but getting out on the road, sometimes you don't know what to expect. But Joe came up and he just crushed it every single night he was up, and I didn't make it easy for him either. One of the nights he was up was the same night of the Central Valley Comedy Competition. We were hosting that event at our show, and so Joe had to go up after the comedy competition had sort of ended. He was he was performing while the judges were deliberating, and I cannot stress to you enough how difficult that is as a comedian, to go up after 15 comics have already performed. And not only did Joe do it, but he like crushed it. He had a great set that night, and I was like, way to go, man, because that is so hard to do. So yeah, he's an extremely talented comedian, such a funny dude, and I hadn't listened to this episode, because I record them a few weeks out, and I listened back to it this morning, and It's a great episode. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Stick around for the outro. I've got a few things to go over with you guys. But let's jump into today's episode. Guys, Joe Kaye. I'm going to leave mine on just in case.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, you let me know if the mic picks up.
It's, yeah. That was, yeah. I caught that. That was cool. Oh, man. I think you're the first person to ever smoke weed on my podcast.
Well, fantastic. I smoke weed on everyone's podcast if they'll let me.
Yeah, you're in my house, so you may as well.
Oh my God, I did Anna Valenzuela's sobriety podcast and fully just sipped the weed pen the entire time. I'm like literally just like, yeah, I'm not sober at all. Thank you for having me here. Why am I here?
I mean, Anna's great. She's coming up next week, actually.
Nice.
Yeah. I love her.
I love Anna.
She's so funny. Last time she was up, she had, I think she had an operation a while back.
Yeah.
And she told me after the fact, she had this amazing set. She just like burned the place down. And then afterwards, she was like, I really needed that. I was feeling so unfunny. And I was like, really? Because you fucking murdered.
No, I mean, like, that was, like, I needed last night because I've been feeling not funny for a really long time. A really long time.
That's a terrible feeling, dude. Like, I mean, when you're just like, just questioning everything about it, especially when your friends are like, murdering, you know?
And, like, when because the last bar show that I had done, that wasn't something that I was producing. Mm-hmm. I literally did, like, 15 minutes to basically just a chattery bar room. That was waiting for their friend's band to go on later. And it's like, we're all part of the same show. Like, you have to get through us to get to your friend's shitty synth band. Like, so fucking buckle up, because I am the first comic, and there are 3 more after me, so you best buckle the fuck up.
I've been in that situation many a times. A while back, I did this show in Tehachapi where this comic he was like an ex-Marine Corps veteran, and he has
his name. Unless we're on the record right now.
We're on the record right now.
Oh boy! All right, so maybe we'll just do this Jackie and Laurie style, and you just like write it and show me.
I mean, he's from Bakersfield, so I don't know. But he has this like bit he does about the PTSD he has from being in the Marine Corps, surviving a helicopter crash, and it's a good bit. But there was like this old white dude in the audience that yells "snowflake," just screams that at him, and he's like, "Wait a minute." He's like, I'm an ex-Marine Corps veteran that survived a helicopter crash in Iraq, and you're calling me...
what did you just call me?
You're calling me a snowflake? He's like, I will beat your ass.
I'll slit your fucking throat and throw it in the parking lot. Are you out of your mind?
The thing was, it's like he was saying all these things I wanted him to say.
Fucking idiot.
He was saying all the things I wanted him to say, but at the same time, I'm going up after him, and like he gets off stage to like dead silence, and the host wants nothing to do with any of it. So he's like, your next comedian coming to the stage is Dave Kaye, and just walk up.
Oh, hi, me as a host. Get me off this fucking stage.
And so I had to kind of like dig myself out of that snowflake.
Snowflake.
That was so
it's like words have lost all meaning.
I know,
like,
really.
They really, truly have.
It was the dumbest thing.
But then that guy's the same kind of dude who like would go and then burn his Nike shoes.
Yeah, probably.
Like, wow, we're snowflakes. It's fine.
He looked like a New Balance man for sure. Yeah.
Blows my mind. That shit blows my mind. Like the amount of like the snowflake cuck liberal like that all thrown out as slurs and insults and whatever. It's like, oh my God, it's wild what offends y'all though. Like if someone just says like white people, you're like reverse racism. And it's like, oh, you mean the thing that's not a thing?
Yeah, right.
Snowflake.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too is like I find myself having to explain to people like when they hear the term. I had to explain it to my mom when she the term white privilege.
Yo, someone fully laughed at me saying the phrase white privilege last night at the show. Like I was listening back to the set and I was like, oh, I have white privilege, and I hear a woman go like, and I was like, what the fuck?
laugh,
Like,
yeah.
I was like, like we all do, and I hear them laughing. I'm like, what the fuck is funny about that?
Right. Well, and that's the thing too is like, because what people get upset about when or white people get upset about is it feels like it's taking away from any struggles that they may have had in life, and that's not it at all. Mm-mm. It's not. It's a systemic thing. It's like your grandparents.
Yeah, no one's saying that you didn't have it hard. We're just saying that you systematically have it easier,
right?
Because I mean, it's the whole like, my parents were never worried about me being out at night. Or not, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. They would be worried about me being out at night just because it's night. Not because, oh, you're of color and if the cops see you, they're going to kill you.
Right.
Like, they might, it was never...
Yeah, and you
like,
go,
the bullies might find you. Like, that's what it was.
Totally,
like,
yeah. I mean, but like, I mean, and it goes so much further back with, like, it's not like your white grandparents weren't denied a home loan post World War II and weren't victims of redlining in cities and didn't have the war on drugs specifically target their neighborhoods. And, and everybody grew up fatherless and I mean, it's
crack wasn't invented by the government and introduced into your part of the city.
Exactly. And so it's like, that's the part that I find myself explaining the most. And I think that's a really hard thing to like refute. You know what I mean? When you say systematic, I don't think a lot of people understand what systematic means.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a weird tangent.
It is what it is. Like, a better comic than me would have taken that because I heard it in the moment last night, and a better comic than me would have been like, wait a minute, what's funny about that? Like, you need to explain to me right now why that setup is funny to you.
It was so funny
because you're the only person in the room that chuckled at the phrase I have white privilege.
Yeah, right. Well, and it was so funny, that crowd was so late arriving last night. And at one point, I mean, there was that couple that was there. They got there really early. And then it was just like old single white man after old single white man after old single white man.
Well, and then those two ladies that sat up front.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking. I was talking about the two ladies up front.
Yeah.
They were the ones, or one of them laughed at the mere suggestion of white privilege.
I talked to them. It might have been maybe a nervous laugh. I don't know, because they were actually
could have been.
They were.
But that's what I'm saying. A better comic than me would have been like, well, I can handle this situation, whatever it is. And for me, it would have been like, oh boy, what if on the off chance right now I do have one of these weird MAGA ladies here? What if on the off chance it's like all I'm gonna do is just call her like I'm just gonna go down to the most primeval part of my brain and just be like, "Oh, you fucking bitch!" Like, you stupid bitch. Like, I would nothing would have been redeeming about me in that moment. Right. I would have had nothing to be like to get me out of that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will give our audiences credit for is there are a lot of conservatives that come out to our shows, but most of them are pretty respectful. Like, there's one guy that comes out to every single one of our shows, and he is he's like a part of like the Republican, like the local Republican, whatever that thing. Like he's like a leader in it and everything. But he comes out to every single show and he laughs. I mean, he won't laugh at everything, but he still supports the rooms even when people are going hard on. I mean, Trump.
We have a known Trump supporter that is at all of our shows and she laughs at everything.
Yeah. I mean, you got
everything.
At this point, you have to.
And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
You're an enigma.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know. And I think there's...
But maybe, do you think it might be because, like, I feel like in like a city like LA, when there is like a Trumper down there, do you think maybe they're more vocal down where we are because they're being bombarded with the left opinion all the time? Whereas up here, it's kind of like... Oh, it's just one of those LA liberals coming up here doing the thing. They'll be gone because everybody up here thinks different. You know what? Or, not everybody, but you know what I mean? Like the general consensus.
I mean, here our audiences are actually pretty purple. Like we've got a lot of red. We've got a lot of blue though, because I mean we have a state college here. We have a pretty big city college.
Well, as a friend was explaining to me about who's done the shows up here and stuff, it's like yes, there are Trump's voters that regret it. And it's like, oh, okay, I could work with that.
Yeah.
I could deal with that.
Right. Well, and I think more people, I know I personally would be more open to a Republican viewpoint because I'm not wholly against conservatism. Like, and when you're talking like, if you're talking like, when it comes to like things like finances and the economy and stuff, I'd be open to like conservative ideas, but it's all the crazy stuff that's wrapped up with them. You know, like,
so that's the thing is that like I'm just so hippy dippy left wing bleeding heart. Like totally. Even when it comes to like the financial stuff, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I get it. We all like money. Like I get it. We all want money, but it's like I really want people to not be dying on the street. Like, well, I really would like,
and that's my thing too. Is like I wouldn't necessarily agree with them, but I'd be more interested in hearing their opinion if there wasn't all of this. You know? Like,
no. I have friends that will identify themselves as like social liberal, fiscal conservative, and I'm like. I roll my eyes at that. I'm like, just give it up. Like, give it up because your party is not doing that.
Right.
Like, and it will never do that. It's like when they say that, I'm like, oh, so you're a Democrat. Mm-hmm. Because that's what a Democrat is now. Right. Is like someone, they're fucking greedy, money, hungry people.
Yeah.
But they're like, but the gays can get married and like Black Lives Matter and stuff.
Like, this is clearly,
but like also we should terminate the homeless.
Clearly,
like it.
Yeah, you're just trying to capture a voting block, aren't you?
No, it's like the more and more I read about politics nowadays, the more I'm realizing I'm like, oh, damn it, I am one of these crazy democratic socialists, aren't I? I am one of these.
I mean, you know, it's just that word that scares everybody. The democratic, like socialist,
and,
yeah, and that's what scares everybody. And that's such a weird leftover like thing. Like, I mean, usually when you break down what democratic socialism is to a lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. You know, but we have this weird fear of the word socialism.
Well, socialism is because it's tied to communism.
Exactly. It's like the old Red Scare stuff. Yeah.
Oh boy. Good God. I mean, how many? I've had to do a deep dive on that shit because like not only with like the Red Scare, but like there was the whole Lavender Scare, and we don't even get into that. Yeah. That's. You could listen to me talk about that for 2.5 hours on
that's the one where they were like they were trying to blackmail politicians that were closeted homosexuals.
Well, no, just anybody working in any government position, not just politicians. It affected thousands of people, and it was in effect for like pretty much until Clinton.
Wow.
Like when Clinton gave us the backhanded softball of don't ask, don't tell. Yeah. Where it was like, okay, I mean, great, we can't be fired anymore, but like also we can't talk about it.
Yeah,
like,
right. This seems problematic. Yeah, that's wild stuff, dude. And it's all this just kind of this weird leftover baggage that we have. And I don't know who's carrying that torch. Like, is it like baby boomers that, you know? I mean, is it, like, because I know I'm totally indifferent to it. You know what I mean? Like, I think the millennials don't really care.
No.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is because it's like, I always get this weird, like, it never made sense to me, the whole, like, boomers this, because it's like both of my parents are very liberal people. Like, called them up because they still live in New York, and I was like, so you guys are voting? And they're like, oh, yeah, we're voting for Cynthia Nixon. And I was like, great. Yeah. They're like, yeah, we're voting her down her whole ticket. Like, we're, you know, we need this shit. My mom openly is like, why hasn't anyone shot Trump yet? She's like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, well, why don't you go do it? She's like, Joe, I'm in my 60s. Like, I've never shot a gun.
Or you're the last person they'd suspect.
Exactly. A retired nurse from Staten Island. No way. They think you're coming off the island. They fucking, oh my God, they throw him every parade if he showed up.
Oh man.
It's awful.
That's wild that you get those weird little pockets of conservative.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
there it makes sense to me because Staten Island is pretty much like the blue collar, like epicenter of New York City. Like because it's so grossly expensive to work pretty much anywhere else. Right. Like, so, I mean, we've got so much NYPD, so much FDNY, so much sanitation, MTA workers, all these people.
Plumbers and everything else.
But people that work for the city. It's a very blue-collar town. Right. And they got duped like many other blue-collar towns in America.
Yeah, I mean...
They're not unlike any small town they're just a really big small town.
Right.
Imagine that small town mentality of like...
Was it a conversation you and I were having a while back about how you there's only like 1 or 2 degrees of separation between everybody?
Yeah. That's what I said. It's like a small town mentality just with like 300,000 people on it. Like, sure. It's insane that like you really you couldn't throw a dead cat in a room without hitting somebody that knows your cousin. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. That's wild, and it's funny how you get those little pockets. Well, I mean that happens down in Southern California too. Like Orange County is a very red county.
Yeah.
You know,
and you know what it is. And there it's the money. Sure. That's really what I think it is there. Right. I mean, there's so much money in Orange County. Like, I mean, I think that I can't speak to this with too much knowledge. I just would assume that the disparagement of wealth in Orange County is like very, very big. The wealth gap down there has to be insane.
Yeah.
Because of the people that I know personally from Orange County, I'm like, they're not rich.
Yeah.
They didn't come from lucrative backgrounds.
Right.
But then it's like you drive down through there and you're like, these houses are huge.
Yeah.
This is enormous. These people live right on the beach. Like, you go to this harbor, that harbor, this marina. Everyone's got a fucking yacht.
That's insane. It blows my mind. Like, I mean, just to like look at it and just be in the presence of such like decadence, I guess. You know? Like, you're like, wow.
And again, that's very much like Staten Island. It's like you have it's very blue collar, and then like the other side of it is like there are some of the biggest McMansions I've ever seen in my life.
I get that same feeling when I go to San Francisco too. I'm like, there's no way this building, this house, this condo, whatever the fuck it is owned by a real person. It's got to be like some Saudi prince somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, just renting it out.
I want that movie.
Yeah, right. There's no way that you can have a nice house and like, I don't know, any one of those districts and be a real person.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. You have to get out of that city and into the like fucking East Bay to find real people.
There's some nice towns in the East Bay.
Yeah.
My grandparents are from this little town called Benicia.
Okay.
They had this amazing, like, their house was tiny, but they had this amazing, like, stair-step yard that, like, overlooked the bay. It was gorgeous. And then they sold it, and, man. It would have been a nice thing to inherit.
Right? Oh, don't even get me fucking started on buildings we could have inherited from our families. Like, I'm really, like, legitimately, I can't get into that because I'm not vocal with my family about how upset I am about some of these things that are happening right now.
And actually, that's a great segue into. So you grew up on Staten
Island.
That's wild. Tell me about that.
It was. I mean, I always go back and forth between being like it was the worst place and I hated every second of it, but then I also look back at it and I'm like, God, I had such good friends, and God, we had such ridiculous, wild, stupid party kid suburb times. But like also in the shadow of this, like one of the biggest cities in the world. Like, well, not even biggest, but like one of the busiest cities in the world is like right there. So for me personally, there was a lot of like, I'd say I spent a lot of my youth on Staten Island, and then I very quickly learned that, well, there's this whole city there. So I spent a lot of my formative years just fucking dicking around Manhattan. Right. Like, kind of adapting to more of that, like an actual, like, I love the city. Not anymore. I can't take it. Really? I love living like outside of LA and like in more of a suburb where it's like, okay, the only noise I worry about is the flight path that goes until about midnight. Say,
I've been to your apartment and it's a quiet, sleepy little neighborhood.
Yeah.
For, you know, I mean, you wouldn't expect it in North Hollywood, but.
And I live right like adjacent to like a little bustling new little arts district-y. So it's like, okay, all the cool things are right there.
Yeah.
But you walk over to my place, it's like, oh, you would never think that
Yeah.
Some of like NoHo's very popular new bars are literally a 10-minute walk.
I went to that when I was there. I went to that tiki bar.
Oh, Tiki No. Yeah, I love that place.
Dude, it's a cool little spot. Like,
yeah, I fucking love that place. I love tiki bars.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I am from Staten Island, so I am trash. Like I am, and like trashy aesthetic really just speaks to me.
Yeah.
And like there's nothing like trashier than like a tiki bar.
I liked how dark it was. Like you could just sit in those booths and nobody knows you're there. Nobody's paying attention to you. It's fucking great. Like you can have, and it's not, and the music wasn't too loud. Like I guess that's a sign of getting old. But like
no,
like,
I feel. I mean, I get that. Like depending on what is going on at the bar, you know, like if it's like a party night, then it's like, yeah, the music's going to be loud. But if it's like a fucking Wednesday afternoon or something.
Exactly what it was.
Yeah, literally. I think it literally was like a Wednesday or a Thursday afternoon you went over there.
It was
so it was
fantastic.
Like, of course, just Jesus Christ, don't have the music pumping at 3 p.m.
That fucking intersection is a death trap, though. That one right there,
It's crazy.
Dude, there are no pedestrian there's like one on one side, but God help you if you get stuck on.
They're trying very hard to make the neighborhood better for pedestrians. They're adding lights and crosswalks, places. I'm like, thank God.
I've never seen an intersection in a star shape. Like it just is like this every which way.
Dude, every morning I'm like, I run across that like 4-way like with the island in the middle. There's no crosswalk there yet.
Like you have to, unless you want to walk half a mile down to that other intersection.
Yeah, and it's like, no, fuck that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
my destination is right there. I'm not gonna do this whole rigmarole.
Yeah,
and like I full on, because you know jaywalking laws in LA are pretty strict, and like I've seen cops fully watch me just walk the middle of the street and be like, oh, don't even. I've seen them watch so many people just be like, oh, let's not even bother. Like that's just mean.
Right. Not to mention by the time the traffic is backed up, by the time they can actually get to you, you're long gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless they want to like get into a foot race with you.
They'll do it.
Will they?
It's the LAPD.
That's good to know.
Do whatever.
So growing up on, you're out in Staten Island, and what? I mean, you still have a lot of family out that way?
No, actually. I mean, there's some Jersey people that are still out there, but as far as New York inhabitants go, like New York City, my parents are the only ones left.
Really?
Yeah. They're either all moved or they all died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And is it like, how did they end up out there? Was it kind of like an immigrant story where? Yeah.
I mean, that goes back to like, I think my great grandparents immigrated from, at least on my mom's side, immigrated from Italy and Sicily. And then, you know, it's really funny that I don't really know my dad's side, like the immigrant story there, because it has to be, because they're Polish German Jews. So there's no way there's not an immigrant story at some point. But I just don't know that one as well. Cause I guess because on my mom's side it was already like, your great grandfather built this house with his 2 hands, and it was, you know, like it's that whole story.
Sure.
And then it's a little different on my dad's side, a little bit. I mean, it's wacky because it was like 2 families living in one house kind of a thing. So it was like him, his parents, his brother and sister, and then like his aunt and uncle, and then their 2 kids. And so it was like just a giant, like, where it's like, oh, my cousins were like my siblings kind of a thing with him. He's like, oh, yeah, you're like, oh, your cousin Charlie was like my brother and blah, blah, blah.
What and no? Did you have a lot of siblings?
No, I'm an only child. I'm an only adopted child. That's it.
Okay, yeah. I didn't realize that. And at what point did you make the move out to LA?
It's been about, oh my God, in February it'll be 9 years.
Whoa, dude. Yeah. And what took you out there? Were you just
school
and
change of scenery? I had left Staten Island to go to college in Philadelphia for a year, became insanely depressed. You could have classified me as an alcoholic.
Really?
For sure. I mean, I got a fake out there. So I was like 18, 19, living out in a dorm for my first time with a liquor store right down the street.
Shit.
And we were all in art school, like visual art school. Like I was a photography major, so I needed to be like tragic. and like drink a fucking fifth of whiskey like every 3 days. It was really bad. It was really bad. And so I moved back home after pretty much flunking out of photography school. Was back home for about 3 months in community college, still insanely depressed. It hit me. It's because I was getting hammered into my brain that acting was never going to work out. So, because I was, also fun fact, I'm a high school dropout.
Are you really?
I dropped out of high school to pursue acting full time and get my GED. That didn't work out. But no, it was given like the whole, you need a fallback, this, that, and the other. And then like it finally just got to me where it's like, no, I need to be in a creative field. Like I need to be, quotes, theatrically creative somehow in some way. I needed to do that bug. And I also knew because I got the taste of not living at home anymore, I couldn't live at home anymore. I felt myself regressing and like becoming way less of a chill person. Like very, just my anger was peaking again. I'm like, I love my parents, but they piss me off so much. So I just needed to go away. And it's funny because the school I come out here for had a New York campus. And that was the real conversation with my mom, is being like, well, why can't you just go to the New York campus? You can just commute there.
Mom, you don't understand. It's you.
Well, I also, because I kind of laid it out of like, I did that commute for 2 years. I went to high school in Manhattan for 2 years. I've done that commute, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be at school at 8. I'm not doing that again. I can't do that again to myself, especially when it's going to be like rehearsals and night classes, and I might miss buses and not be home until 2 in the morning, and then I got to get up at 5 again the next day. Fuck that.
Yeah, it sounds awful.
Fuck that. Out here, it was like, no, there's dorms. The school's right around the corner.
Right. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And at what point? It was funny. You told me this last night, and I didn't realize it, but you mentioned that actually a previous guest on the show, Brandie Posey, was a big inspiration for you getting into comedy.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I was raised on stand-up. I was a huge comedy nerd, always have been, and that's thanks to Mom.
That's right.
I joke that she made me watch a lot of Thomas the Tank Engine to prepare me to watch George Carlin specials. So that it would be a familiar face when she would put it on.
Oh, that's fair. The train conductor.
But yeah, no, I mean, like I was a real comedy nerd. Like everyone's talking about Dane Cook, and I'm like, but what about that old Paula Poundstone special? I'll still watch that on YouTube. Every once in a while, I will go back and watch that fucking Paula Poundstone 45-minute special in 7-minute chunks on YouTube.
So I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's great.
Is it?
Oh, it's great.
Paula
It's from
Poundstone.
like 86, 87.
No,
it's so great. It's huge shoulder pads. It's fantastic. So there was a lot of her, a lot of Margaret Cho. Lewis Black was a big one for me growing up.
The fingers,
It was
so
me and my mom would watch a lot of the Black on Broadway special.
Yeah.
We would watch that a lot.
That one I have seen. Yeah, it's great.
But no, a lot of also weird ones you would never expect, like a weird, because it's comedy nerd shit. It's like Richard Jenny.
Oh, wow.
Like that special I would watch a lot. Like it was, but then the one that really hit me in high school was Maria Bamford. Probably like the one that I'm like, oh, this is, and I don't want to say that no one else made me think that this was an art form, but when I heard her for the first time, I was like, this is an art I've never experienced.
Yeah,
and if anything, it made me think I could never do this.
Right.
Because this is just.
Well, and one of the great things about Maria is she does so much with so little, with just some vocal inflection and I mean, she's not even really like heavy on act outs, really. I mean, it's all just kind of her.
Not so much anymore. I feel like her earlier work, you can. I mean, I don't know, maybe physically, because I would have all the albums, but like you can hear the act outs almost.
Sure, yeah. And
she's definitely doing something with her hands or her face because the audience is still responding. Right. So something's happening here.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see. Yeah, I mean, she was here in Fresno. Her and Jackie Cation came through a while back, and Danny made it out to that show. Danny didn't know who Jackie was, and he's like,
"Oh, Jackie,
yeah." And he's like, Have you heard of this Jackie Cation?" I was like, "Yeah, she's fucking amazing."
Have I heard of this Jackie Cation? Oh, you mean Jackie Cation that's been doing comedy for like 30 years almost, right? Something to that effect.
Yeah, I was shocked Danny hadn't heard of her before.
But yeah, so fast forward to get to the Brandie of It All. So I was living out here for a long time. I got into comedy about 3 years ago. Tried acting again, didn't work out.
Yeah, right.
Did that for a long time, lots and lots of auditions, a lot of shit. But I was a big fan of BoJack Horseman, still am.
Yes.
And that she is the host of a great show called Picture This, and they just so happened to be doing a Picture This does BoJack night. So it was like Paul F. Tompkins and Emily Heller were on the show, and they had like all the animators from BoJack as
that's so cool.
So I was like, I gotta go to this. It was like an early date with my boyfriend too. I was like, we should go to this thing. We both love this show. We should go. Like it could be really, really fun. Because I also listened to Lady a lot at the time.
Great.
So heard about the show through that podcast, went to the show, saw a Picture This, and was like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
This is so cool, so fun. And like literally 5 days later, I went up at an open mic.
Oh, that's so cool.
And and now I run that same open mic.
I was going to say, that's really cool. And how cool is it to be where you're at, where like you were just on an episode of Lady. You know what I mean?
I did. Yeah. That really, it was surreal. Like for me, I'm like, there is like 290 hours of these women that have been inserted into my brain that like, I am such a fan that just I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of pinching myself and like, I can't believe that I did this so quickly, like that. I wouldn't have seen that happening for me this early into my comedy career.
Yeah. But no, that's great, man. That's so cool, and that's one of the neat things about comedy. I think I've talked about this before on the pod, maybe not. I don't know, but it's one of the things I do love about comedy is how accessible comedians are. So much more than musicians in general. You know, I mean, like it's so hard to meet a big to ever happen upon the Rolling Stones. You know, like you'll never be in that situation. You know what I mean? But you can bump into like Maria Bamford at the Comedy Store, or any number
I
of.
met James Adomian at a fucking Pete's Coffee.
Yeah, that's and I mean just the fact that you are in this. You're in this art form that is, so accessible. You know, I mean, to meet your heroes is so easy.
Not only like to meet your heroes, because like, like Brandie is a hero to me, truly. And it's like, I just went to the movies with her the other day. It's like, this is awesome. This is crazy cool.
She's so cool. Yeah, she's the best.
3 years, like not even, but like if you went back 3 or 4 years and you were like, hey Joe, guess what? You know that podcast you're obsessed with? In like 4 years, you're going to be like just chilling with one of the hosts watching the new Predator movie and you're going to have a blast.
And he'd be like, go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah. I'm never going to do stand up.
I'm never going to do stand up.
I'm just an observer of the form.
Oh, that's great. You're Joe Kaye.
I am Joe Kaye.
Hi. Danny thought your name was a pun.
I know. You know what's so funny is I never thought it was. Like it was. Somebody brought that up to me about like a year in, and I was like, "Oh no! Do people think that's what it is?"
In fairness, I didn't. But Danny's also a wordplay comedian, so it was probably why he went there with it. But,
a lot of not great open micers have been like, "So is your name, like Joke?" And I'm like, no, that was just a nickname that's thrust upon you when you're a kid, when you have a last name that's too difficult for kids to pronounce.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, my last name's Konigsberg. But
is it really?
It gets caught on the tongue a lot. And a lot of teachers would just call me Joe Kaye, and I was fine with that. Like it never bothered me.
Oh wow!
And my parents were never bothered by it either. Like, no, we get it. Like,
sure.
They were Mr. K, Mrs. K to all my friends. It was never an issue.
That's wild.
So
I did not know that. I learned something today.
Yeah, it kind of just stuck.
And so this is a podcast where we talk about dads. And you have a dad.
I do have a dad.
And well, I guess we kind of normally my first question is where did your dad grow up, but we kind of touched on that a little bit.
Well, he grew up like Brooklyn, Brooklyn / kind of Queens ish, specifically like Rockaway Beach, which is like as far out as you can go without getting to Long Island.
Okay,
like literally their house, like, so it starts I think like at beach like 210th or something, and their house was on beach 2nd.
Oh wow.
It was literally as far as you can get without getting on the bridge to go over to Long Island. In fact, if you wanted to, you can go to the beach, swim across the fucking channel, and be in Long Island. Wasn't that difficult.
Oh really?
It was not that far.
Huh. Fascinating. Okay. And so he goes up out there. Does he have a big family? You mentioned
sort of. Yeah, I would say yes because of the living situation. Because he's got 2 siblings, but then also his 2 first cousins. And then his parents and their parents all in
the same
one house.
Yeah, that's wild. Dude.
Yeah.
Why, was that just for the purpose of saving money? Or,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't
think anybody would.
I think there was also a lot of like, it was like a family business kind of thing was going on because there's a lot that I'm learning now about my dad's side of the family because I just guess no one was really vocal with me because also that side of the family is way bigger. I've got 4 first cousins on that side, and so and I'm the youngest. So it was I was never really with the adults. I was with the cousins a lot because I was their fucking plaything. It's 4 girls, and then they got me. I was the first boy in the family, and they're like, oh, we could throw him around a room, and he'll just bounce.
I love it.
Oh no, my favorite game was my 2 twin cousins, Yvette and Karen, who are, let's say, I'm going to go ahead and say about 13, 14 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
Would literally just throw me across a room, and I would just laugh and laugh. It would start with them it was like chicken. It was like they started right next to each other, and then they would just up the distance.
Oh, they're throwing you to each other.
Holy
shit!
Under the arms, just swinging me.
Whoa.
They would like do the human swing on me all the time because they were all like into gymnastics. They were all very athletic girls. So like they were very like, no, we'll do airplane. We'll hold you up on 1 foot. We'll do crazy acrobatic shit with you.
That's kind of fun.
It was really fun.
I was gonna say if you're a little boy, sounds like a blast.
They really knew how to raise a young gay boy properly. Like truly. I mean, they realized very early, they're like, oh, he likes having his nails painted. We'll do that. We'll get him in a dress. He'll have a good time. Yeah. Very easily could have gone down the path of drag. Very easily for how cool my cousins were.
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like they recognized it and didn't seem to try to squash it in you. I mean, there was no.
It was most of the family was thoroughly unsurprised and unfazed by my coming out. Pretty much all of them. By the time it happened, I mean, I joke. I don't mean with my aunt, but I'm like She gave me like the worst response, like the worst kind of positive response where it was like, oh, we've known. It's like, no, this is my moment. This is hard for me.
Yeah, right.
This is insanely hard.
Sure. Just let me say the thing.
And it got to a point with with the family where I'm like, okay, can you just do me a favor and tell the rest of them then? If everybody fucking knows. I literally told my aunt because at this point I come out to all my cousins. I came out to like a couple of more distant it was mostly cousins that I was like, hey, by the way. They're like, yeah, we all know. Come on. And when I came out to my aunt, she was like, oh, honey, we've known for years. And it was like, okay, well, then why don't you just go ahead and tell your brother and my father and your goddamn father? How about that? How about this?
That's pretty funny.
Jesus.
Oh man, I forgot where we left off with your dad. He's
I'm not very keyed into his history as much as I'd like to. I want to learn more.
Sure. That's okay. Do you have any idea, or did you get any sense of what he was like as a kid? Was he?
I think I'm getting a lot of that now.
Really?
Or a lot more now. Because like I'm meeting like, excuse me, like I'm meeting some more distant cousins, older family friends, like at various weddings and events and whatever. Yeah. And some of the stories that I get, it's like wow, apparently he was really good looking and like the heartbreaker of the family. Yeah. And I'm like, what?
Dad.
What?
Yeah. Was he a sports guy? Was he playing a lot of sports? Or?
I'm pretty sure he was athletic because he very much loves. I mean, he was like a kid in this in like the 50s and 60s. So it was that's what it was. It was all just climbing trees and fucking playing football in the street, like and a lot of fishing because they grew up right next to the water. My grandfather was huge into fishing. I spent a lot of time on a fishing boat when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
That's fun.
If the weather wasn't too cold, like for Passovers and stuff, we never would go fishing, but we would like go for like rides out on the boat. We'd be like, we can go out, like we can take it out on the water for a little bit.
Oh, that's cool.
It was fun. And
so they're he's Jewish and they're practicing
not so much. We're definitely like of the Reformed variety. My dad will go to temple for the high holidays, like he just went for Rosh Hashanah and stuff like that. Sure. But I was definitely raised in the faith. I had a bar mitzvah, all of that.
That's cool.
But apparently, and this I literally just learned, that apparently my grandfather only got religious in his later years, like from kind of our childhoods, like our generation, the cousins and stuff, is when he started getting religious, because apparently he was not in any way, shape, and form like practicing, like, I guess.
Oh, wow.
It was very like, oh no, like your uncles, aunts, and dad had their bar mitzvahs, but it was never like, go to temple, we have to do all the things. And so it's, and you know, it's interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to learn, because he was always like, to me, like, oh wow, grandpa's like the Jewiest person in our family. Like wow, he's always at temple. Oh wow, he has to read the whole Haggadah on Passover, the whole thing, the unabridged version. That is a 4.5 hour ceremony. Ooh. We want to eat the goddamn dry turkey that Adele made for us.
We want the goddamn gefilte fish.
Please keep us far that. Why? That will never.
Yeah,
that's got to be some like leftover from the fucking depression shit.
I mean, like, there's some real gross,
some
Armenian
weird.
food too.
I was gonna say, but also like some like weird Eastern European fleeing from the Nazis kind of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And at what point does he meet your mom?
They met, I want to say 86 or 87. Okay. They got married in 88. They met in a personals ad.
Like one of the video ones? Or was
it in the newspaper.
Oh, wow.
My mom had just gotten divorced, so she was just looking to get back out there. Yeah. And they met through a personals ad, and their first date was a Met game, and they went to a diner.
Well, that's kind of cute.
That's really cute.
It's the kind of a Harriet Met Sally.
It's kind of a meet cute. Yeah.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
That's great. Did they just hit it off right away?
I'm pretty sure they had to have. I think it was also very like, hey, we want the same things in life. We would like to start a family. Because I think that was one of the reasons that my mom got divorced, was he didn't want kids. Oh. And that was something my mom always wanted. Well, also she couldn't have biological children. I think that was a huge blow to her first husband, of being like, hard. Well, if I was gonna have a kid, I would need it to be, he was one of those fucking narcissistic motherfuckers that needs a carbon copy of himself in order to love it. But both my parents, I think because they wanted to start a family, and they knew that like adoption would take a long time. Yeah. So I don't even know. That's the story I would like to know, is how long were they on the adoption list before I came along? Because they were, like I said, they were married in 88. I came along in 90. yeah.
Yeah, well, and what does your dad do for a living?
Well, they're both retired now. But growing up, he worked for we worked for a bank in Manhattan, and he had like an overnight job where this is how archaic the job was. He basically got phased out by technology. He would have to take all of the discs that had all of the numbers, move them from one drive and plug them into another drive. That was and like input numbers.
Your dad was a server.
Basically, his entire job was like to make sure that all of the transfers got done and
wild.
No one's money disappeared overnight.
Wow,
that was like his job. And that's to my knowledge, that's the best that I could posit from the few times that I went with him and like for sleepovers at the office with him.
Wild, yeah.
Yeah, where I'm just like
fun.
Have a sleeping bag in a hallway of computer servers, like.
And what's your dad like? Is he a?
He growing up was cool-ish. He was. We had a weird relationship, I would say. He didn't know how to handle me in any way. I was a real handful. I'm not even gonna try to make excuses for it. I was a real shitty kid. But also, I mean, it has to do with a lot of my surroundings, not my family, but like for years and years and years. I mean, the short version of it, I was being gaslit by my entire private school pretty much, geez. Because like I had a really bad bully, but then my bully's mom was a teacher at the school. Ugh. So I was always being called a liar. My whole life I was being called a liar, like to my face, and like, oh, you just hit him unprovoked. And I'm like, no, he told me I'm not loved because I'm adopted.
Fuck him.
Your mom didn't want you. Like it was that, yeah, he was, and it was a monstrous bullshit to say to like an 8-year-old. You know what I mean? It's disgusting, the kind of things that were sent. So I had a lot of anger, and that would be ending up having to come out at home because I was always getting in trouble for it. Like it was just bad. It was just bad. So I would say our relationship was distant at best. He tried. I will say that man, God, like in retrospect, I'm like, he tried so hard, and I pushed him away so hard. So hard. And I think it was that because I think when I was really little, we were close. Like you are with your parents. You're really close with your parents when you're a kid.
Right.
And then you hit that age, and then you're like, I want nothing to do with these people. And then on top of that, like the undiagnosed bipolar. So I was just having mood swings all the time.
Sure.
I would and on top of that, being a hormonal teenager, it's like it'd fly off the handle for literally no reason. Come down for dinner. I'll come down and I fucking want to.
I mean, it's
and then I'd be like, sorry, I'll be down in a minute. Like it was insane. My moods were wild.
Right. I mean, and it's, you know, and there's a weird parallel there with between you and my older brother, because my older brother was bipolar also, but he's like 14 years older than me, so he grew up in the 70s, and that was before they even called it bipolar. They called it manic depressive.
Well, because I'm a kid of the 90s, I was misdiagnosed with like ADD, ADHD, all that, because that was the hot disease to have.
Right.
But no, then because I think it was like my 7th or 8th therapist over the years was like, I'm pretty sure he's bipolar. My mom was like, well, that makes sense because his fucking biological mother's bipolar.
Well, there we go. We got it.
Like, I've been saying it for years.
Right. Oh yeah, your mom was
because my mom also worked in the medical profession for her pretty much her entire career. So it's like, no, she knew the signs, and she was like, no, that shit is totes genetic. That's why I will not have biological children. I will not pass this burden on to another kid.
Sure.
And if someone without bipolar can barely handle a kid with it, I can't even begin to imagine how me, someone who still deals with severe mood swings, would deal with a child with severe mood
suddenly
swings.
You're regressing and like, that's intense, man. And I mean, it sounds like your mom was a real advocate for you, though.
No, I mean, like I said, they They worked hard. They fought hard. They tried really, really, really hard. And I mean, I've on more than one occasion I've sat them down and been like, hey, I'm really sorry. I want you to know like how fucking sorry I am for like how many years of bullshit I put you through.
Right. Yeah.
But they've also kind of turned back around and given me that same kind of an apology of being like, we should have listened to you when you were way younger. Because for years I'd be like, please take me out of this school.
Yeah.
Please. And like I said, they tried hard because they were sending me to a private school. They thought they were doing the best they could do for me.
Sure. Yeah.
We are working hard and we are paying for an education. But they were also paying for daily torture.
Yeah. It's a hard thing.
And nothing physical either. I was never beat up. But oh my God, was my brain fucked with.
I mean, dude, yeah. And it's a hard thing. And sometimes it's really hard to like admit to your parents you're being bullied. You know, like, because I remember I was bullied too growing up. And sometimes I don't think I ever really told my parents about it though.
I was never shy about that.
Well,
because I was like, well, no one there believes me. Someone has to believe
somebody
me.
Here. Yeah.
And nobody did. It's like, I don't know how many people out there understand and you're also in such a small class where it's like not only is your bully and the whole school gaslighting you, but you also have to like invite the bully to your birthday party because you got to invite the whole class.
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah. Yeah, I did you ever have to deal with any of like the machismo attitude where it's like, well, if you have a bully, you just got to handle it, you know? Did you ever?
No,
that was a big thing for me.
You know, I think because my dad is a very make love, not war kind of guy. At least me growing up, he was like that. He was very like, you don't hit unless you get hit first. He's like he literally raised me being like, take the first punch because then it's self-defense,
right?
Kind of a thing of like, then you could just do whatever the fuck you need to do.
Sure, yeah.
Which I would do. Like I would wait. It was like it had to snap. Like it was always, every time it was straw that would break the camel's back. Every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was never. It was never. It was always very. It was always very mom, like I said, because me and my dad kind of had a distant relationship. Mostly, I think it's because, he would work at night. So a lot of the conversations I would have would be with my mom about school.
Sure.
And she was all about like conflict resolution and like, we'll just talk to them. And I'm like,
Mom, you don't
when they
understand.
say your mother didn't love you, you tell them you were chosen. So someone loves you. Two mothers loved you because one wanted to give you a better life and the other one took you into her arms. And it was like, yeah, Mom, I'm sure.
I feel like the nuance of that situation is going to be lost on
I'm sure it's going to be lost. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure a bunch of third graders are going to really get that. I think they're really going to jive with your fucking guidance counselor.
Yeah. And it's so funny, and again, I'm sorry to keep bringing this around to my older brother, but like that was with a lot of what my older brother's big though. Not, he's like 6'2" or 6'3", and like he would get these like negging, like bullying, like these people would just come after him and say things, and then, but like. As far as the teachers are concerned, all they see is my older brother picking this guy up and throwing him, and
no, that's kind of what it was. Like, and also what it was is because none of my bullies, at least in school, were alphas. Like they weren't the athletic kids. Like if anything, they were just the ones that was like, oh, fucking weirdo, and just like move on with their lives.
Right.
My biggest bully was another beta. Was like a fucking fat nerd.
Oh, fuck him,
that had a fucking god complex because his mom worked for the school.
Ugh.
And he knew he could get away with shit like that.
Yeah, that's really shitty.
It was a real fucking nightmare.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that bothers me because you get I see it in comedy a lot, but you get that real contrarian stance against like the anti-bullying thing where like, no, we all needed bullies growing up, and it's.
You know it, like, honestly, I want to punch Chris Rock in the fucking face.
Yeah.
Every time he says that shit, I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Severely fuck you.
Right.
Like, I'm really fucking tired of it.
Yeah.
I'm really fucking sick of kids killing themselves.
Yeah.
I'm sick of this shit. And I'm
Yeah.
sick of your fucking stance making it okay for these, because that's basically what you're telling me when you're saying, oh, well, we need bullying. I'm like, okay, so then what you're telling me is we need kids to commit suicide.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
You need this like severe, long-lasting psychological damage.
Yeah.
Like we need that.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah. You mean I'm still digging up memories that I've repressed from childhood, from like the things that were said and done to me at slumber parties and shit? Are you fucking kidding me? I was never molested. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. I know what that sounded like when I was like repressed memories from slumber parties. No, but like, it's that thing of like, no, I'm pretty sure that I would be just as silly and ridiculous and quirky and fun and funny if I wasn't relentlessly tortured by like the one or two specific people. Because you know what? I was still a weird fucking kid.
Sure.
And I would have gotten what probably Chris Rock would consider the right kind of bullying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why, like I said, like, oh, okay, so the fucking basketball kids wanted to like be like, oh, fucking weirdo, gay kid. It's like, okay, who cares? Like, whatever. I wasn't beat up.
Right.
It was in passing comments. But it's like the kind of psychological shit that kids do. I'm like, I don't know, especially now, it's like, it's so crazy easy to gaslight people with social media.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
Like, it's fucking crazy.
Because that was one thing I did take solace in when I was going through it. It's like, at least I could go home. Like, at least I could go home and I didn't have to see these people or whatever.
At least by the time social media came around, it was high school and I was pretty self-aware and pretty like, well, I have friends now and I don't really care anymore about like what anybody has to say, friend or foe. I really don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Because hey, I've already dealt with my fair share of that. It's like that thing of like I was hassled to the point where I was just forced just to come out in 8th grade because it was like, okay, fine. If I just fucking say it, will it stop?
I mean, it takes that power away from them, you know?
It kind of did.
Yeah.
It kind of did. I'm not going to lie. Like, I look back at that and I'm like, yeah, I was pretty okay once I came out of the closet. I was pretty, like, who fucking cares?
Yeah, right.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Fuck them.
Fuck these kids. But don't fuck these kids.
Don't fuck
go
the
to jail.
kids, but fuck those kids.
Yeah.
This is the part of the show where I usually ask for a dad-anecdote.
Dad-anecdote.
Do you have any particular memory of your father that was either good or profound or just a favorite memory?
This is I like this story because this is kind of later on in my life. And this was kind of the first time I realized that I was like, as an adult, being like, my dad's pretty cool. I was home. I forgot where we were driving. We were driving somewhere. I think he was driving me off at a train station or some shit. And he just goes, just out of nowhere, he goes, I hope that's good pot you're smoking. And I was just like, oh, don't worry, it is. And he's like, good. Don't waste your money.
Oh, that's cool. You gotta go.
It was just that little moment where I was like, oh, he's cool. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah,
and what's
awesome.
funnier is that some of my friends knew that before me in that way of
funny.
like, oh, your dad doesn't care, right?
Yeah.
Like we'd be lighting up blunts in the backyard and be like, he doesn't care, right? Your dad's cool.
Yeah. They could just.
I'm like, no, my
sit
dad's quiet. Like there's a difference.
Oh, that's great, man. Joe, you do so many cool things. I want you to can you plug some of your cool stuff?
Oh, the cool stuff
on social media.
Sure. Well, if you want to follow me on things, I'm at Joe Charles Kaye on Instagram and Twitter and that shit. If you're in LA, if you happen to be there, I have a great weekly show called Canteen Points. It's at the Good Night in North Hollywood every
Really
Thursday at 7:30. And finally, it should be coming out any fucking day now. My podcast, Okay Work, and it's a RuPaul's Drag Race recap show because we needed another one. And that should be out on the Unpopular Opinion Network literally any day. We had a release date, and then fucking iTunes.
Yeah.
So
when I was staying with you, it was so funny. You're like, Dave, I need you to watch an episode of RuPaul Drag Race.
I did.
Yeah, but it was funny because you were like, I need. It was almost like for science. You were like, I need more straight white guy reactions to RuPaul's Drag Race.
I'm really into what straight men have to say
it was
about
so much
that
fun.
show. I'm really, really fascinated by their response.
I had a blast. It was such a fun show.
Yeah, it's a fucking blast.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and afterwards I find myself, because you kind of plot me into the middle of it. So there was like so much.
Yeah, because I needed to take notes because I was recording an episode that weekend.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, that was great. Awesome, Joe. You've been an awesome guest today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, let's continue this conversation off mic like we're about to anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're back. Joe Kaye, everybody. He's great, right? Follow him on all the social medias. Listen to OK Work, and that's work with an E, WERK. And I believe that podcast is up now, so check him out. And thanks so much, Joe, for being on and being a great guest. A few things. Oh, I got a iTunes review this week from a user whose name I cannot even begin to pronounce. BSG Gain A. So I don't know. Maybe that's an anagram or like an acronym for something really long. I don't know. Did you guys hear me in the Danny Minch episode last week? I listened back to it. I didn't catch it right away, but I meant to say acronym, but I said what did I say? I said adjective. Big dummy. I'm such a dummy. Anyway, great review, though. I'll read this to you from this user, our listener. Dave is a great host. These podcasts are heartwarming, funny, and well done. Listen now. You heard the person. Listen now. So thank you so much for the reviews, guys. If any and all of those you want to send my way, I'd love you forever. That helps me a lot. I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to start the Sad Dad Facebook group either this week or next week and get going there. I'll make sure to let you guys know. And if you guys have any dad anecdotes you'd like to send me, any funny or profound or whatever special moments with you and your dad, send them my way at saddadpodcast@gmail.com. Or if you just want to say hi, you can say it there too. You can follow me on social media. It's Dave Apkarian across the board, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you're not sure if it's me or not, just look for the mustache. Look for that mustache, people. So again, thanks so much. If you want to support the show, Sad Dad Patreon, you can find that. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. I'm thinking about buttons. How do you guys feel about buttons? Kind of like punk rock buttons, with the Sad Dad logo on there. I think that'd be fun. So yeah, sign up for that. Sign up for that Patreon, and I'll send you some buttons. Let's see if I can get some stickers going too. So. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much. I got a few new listeners this week, I know. So thank you guys for joining the Sad Dadites. I haven't brought that up in a while. Sad Dadites. You guys think that's cool? Sad Dadites. Kind of reminds me of Deadites from Evil Dead, right? That's kind of cool. Huh? Sad Dadders. We could do that too, I guess. Whatever you guys want. We'll talk about it. We'll figure it out. I like Sad Dadites, but if you guys have an opinion on the matter or a totally different something other than Sad Dadders or Sad Dadites, let me know. Email me with a pitch. I'd love to hear from you guys. So, all right, guys, that's it. I'll be back next week. I think I'm going to release my episode with Samir Suri, a real funny dude that was down last week with Anna Valenzuela. So, cool, guys. I will catch you next week. Adios.